Is going on, everybody? Jonathan Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Better Baseball MLB DFS playbook and live stream. We are recording. We're not recording. We're live. I do this all the time, James. We are live here on a Monday. 7-game main slate kicking off the week here.
Yeah, happy Monday. 7-game main slate over on FanDuel and DraftKings. Love when a plan comes together and DraftKings and FanDuel ride with the same size slates because there was a 640 game. I'm sure FanDuel was incredibly tempted to include it to their main slate because that's FanDuel style, but 7 games.
There's quite a few 640 games on the slate this week. There's going to be one or two of these days has like a 4-game 640 slate that I'm sure we'll see DraftKings and FanDuel have some action for.
Right.
So if you're jonesing for some DFS, you'll have a mini slate there ahead of the main slates this week.
Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting things kind of develop from the time we recorded last night till today. The White Sox announced an opener in Tanner Banks. There's no official announcement on Jesse Schultan's being the long reliever because he pitched twice over the weekend, but that is still, I guess, the expectation. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants changed their pitcher. We knew Ryan Walker was opening, but now it looks like Wynn is going to be the long man. He was recently recalled. So there's been a bunch of changes. We saw the number 1 overall pick of the 2021 draft get called up for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's going to make his debut behind the plate tonight. There's been a whole bunch of interesting things taking place, and the weather in Cincinnati has greatly improved.
Yeah, gotten better.
They are, the highest projected roster team, which doesn't surprise me at all. We talked about it last night. Just Joey Votto is returning to the lineup to make his debut tonight. So, BZ, what's going on, man? Happy Monday. And there's just a lot of interesting stuff taking place tonight, and I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff going on here. Joey Votto, Better Boss in the chat. Matt, what's up? Joey Votto back. 2 years ago, Joey Votto unexpectedly shattered the fantasy baseball world, hit 36 home runs when everybody was basically kind of leaving him for dead. Last year, really struggled, gets hurt, misses the rest of the season basically all the way up into the beginning of this year here. But we'll see, right? Enters into this into the middle right away of this Reds lineup. They have Ellie De La Cruz. This lineup's been hitting lately. They've been better. Guys like Jonathan India are having a much better season than they did last year. Spencer Steer's coming on for them. So we'll see. They have a lefty on the mound tonight, Austin Gomber, which James, as you mentioned, lefty is actually doing damage off Austin Gomber this year. So maybe this is a good spot for Votto to come back and make his debut. But we'll touch upon all the positions here. Those of you who are used to the show, we go position by position. We break it down. We give our thoughts. We answer your questions. If you're tuning in here for the first time, get your questions in chat. James and I will be more than happy to answer them live on air for everybody. We'll give our top picks, stacks, home run calls, value plays. We'll end the show making a lineup for everybody as well. James, before we kick everything off here, though, I just want to remind the folks at home that the Fantasy Line Fantasy Football Draft Guide is live right now on site. Yes, fantasy football season is already here. You can go to fantasyline.com/draft guide. If you have an all-pro subscription, you have access. If you don't have an all-pro subscription quite yet, 7-day free trial included and the draft guide when you go to fantasyline.com/all-pro. If you use promo code MLB50, you'll save 50% off the first 6 months of that subscription. Or if you want just the draft guide, you can get it right now for $26.99. But really no reason why not to sign up and take advantage of the 7-day free trial offer. Going to fantasyline.com/all-pro, promo code MLB50. There's take advantage of the Fantasy Line Fantasy Football Draft Guide, living draft guide, now available on site, being updated daily. Andrew Cooper's quarterback tier dynamic rankings articles dropped today. So new content coming out every day for the upcoming fantasy football season. Housekeeping finished, James. Let's go take a look at the MLB DFS slate here for tonight. Pitching. You were on the playbook today. We talked about it last night. We really lived in the upper tier. There wasn't a ton of value that we were keying in on. couple of dart throws we were willing to make. Anything change for you when it came to the playbook today when it comes to pitching?
Nothing has necessarily changed. Do you want to get into Vegas real quick
Sure.
before we
Yeah.
hit
Yeah. Let's go
pitching?
Vegas and spreads. Let's do that.
Typical fashion here. Cincinnati is the biggest favorite on the board today, minus 165 over on DraftKings Sportsbook. They are hosting the Colorado Rockies, and as we alluded to a little bit earlier, there was some weather, reportedly bad weather in the area. That seemingly has, ta- tapered off a little bit, and it looks like that game is not very risky, which is good because I like that game quite a bit. The Cubs are small favorites, minus 130. The Minnesota Twins, minus 145. The Texas Rangers, minus 130. And that's really it for like notable money lines. And then when you go over to the over-unders, there's some interesting games here. I mean, 10.5 implied runs in Rockies Reds. Like we said, it's the best game environment on the board. You want to get a lot of exposure there. 9.5 runs in Texas and Chicago. It's in Chicago. It's a very good hitter's ballpark there. Slight lean on the under, which is I find interesting because Texas offense is so potent and there's bad pitching all around there. 9 implied runs some places in San Diego, San Francisco, 8.5 and others. There's very good pitcher's ballpark in that atmosphere. And then the slate low is 7.5 runs for Mets Houston, which again, seemingly everyday tale for Max Scherzer and the New York, or just the New York Mets in general. They just are in these like low game totals and seemingly never happens to play out that way.
Our guy Mark mentioning Scherzer here. Is he really going to be 26% drafted? Looking over at the draft forecaster here for tonight. Scherzer at $8,800 is definitely an appealing price point. One of the lower prices we've seen him all year. Only once had he been lower. Back against Philly, he went 7 innings, 1 earned, 9 Ks in that game for 32 fantasy points. Been $1,000 more expensive over the last 2 starts here for him, but he has been awful in those 2 starts. 11 earned runs allowed, 18 hits allowed in the 9 innings total between Atlanta and New York. Now he's going up against Houston here. I mean, does that make you want to go against Scherzer in the chalk tonight if that's the way the public's going, James?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have more interest in Houston than I do Scherzer, and I'm not saying I wouldn't play Scherzer because, like, if you're playing multiple lineups, obviously getting to Max Scherzer is okay. Um, but where he's really struggled this year is against right-handed bats, and Houston's lineup tonight has 8 righties in it, with Kyle Tucker being the only lefty, and Kyle Tucker can hit against anybody. So when Kyle Tucker is your one lefty and Scherzer struggling against righties, I mean, 219 ISO allowed, 334 WOBA, a 43% hard hit rate, 33% fly ball rate. That's pause for concern. Altuve's hitting righties well. Bregman's hitting righties well. Yanier Diaz has been hitting righties extremely well. Chas McCormick is hitting like they have a very good, even without Yordan Alvarez, a very good lineup against right-handed pitching, and that scares me against Scherzer. So, yeah, I know the Astros are only getting 3.9 implied runs, and that's obviously on the lower end of the slate, but I think they could do damage against Scherzer because obviously this isn't the best version we've seen. There's questions around the entire Mets staff, 11 earned runs. I mean, we went into that start against the Yankees, like, who do the Yankees have? And he got lit up. And I'm obviously, like, I'm not saying this is an apples to apples comparison because it's not. Like, every slate, every start is different. There's different circumstances around starts, but like just seeing the facts that Scherzer is bad against right-handed bats and Houston's throwing 8 at him is, a little bit concerning.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Getting into pitchers that we do have interest in here today, James. James Paxton, guy was the cover of the morning playbook here. We considered him. He's the cover of my PrizePicks, PrizePicks cover of my PrizePicks article here today. One of our favorite pitchers on the slate, though. Ridiculous strikeout numbers of pitchers if starters that have thrown at least 30 innings this year. He would be 3rd in K per 9 behind Strider and Taj Bradley. Guy has a 30% strikeout rate on the season alone. We've talked about Minnesota and their strikeout rate against left-handed pitching here. He's $9,300. Again, you were on him from the start. I was super skeptical about him given his struggles during rehab, but the man's been absolute nails. At $9,300, how much of James Paxton do you have tonight?
I mean, a lot. And you consider he's the 7th highest owned pitcher of the night. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
it's just like, if you just look at the people that are projected to be higher owned, Max Scherzer, there's obvious flaws. He's been bad his last 2 starts. Corbin Burns has the team has the second best OPS over the last 2 weeks and the 4th best OPS against right-handed pitching on the year. Pablo Lopez it's been a roller coaster ride with him. I like Pablo Lopez, but like, you undeniably been good and bad. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde from start to start.
Mm-hmm.
Merrill Kelly has been really good. So I have nothing really bad to say about him. But Hunter Brown gets a pretty good Mets offense that gets Pete Alonso back. Like, the Mets are a inconsistent offense, but one that is better with Pete Alonso in it when versus not having Pete Alonso in it. And
Yeah.
Hunter Brown's 10-2. He's the most expensive pitcher on the slate. So, like, those are 6 guys or 5 guys that are higher owned that I'd much rather have James Paxton. I like Kelly. I like Lopez. Those are probably my top 3 guys tonight in terms of the top tier of pitching. But James Paxton's number 1. Minnesota's second highest strikeout rate in baseball against left-handed pitching. And, they've done nothing lately. Getting Byron Buxton walking through that door has not helped. Edward Julian getting walking through that door has not helped. Like, nothing they're doing against lefties, and no matter who's in and who's out, it's just a revolving door of strikeouts. So
Right.
Paxton's my number 1. Merrill Kelly is my number 2, and Pablo Lopez is my number 3 arm.
Yeah, PrizePicks plays today. Again, you can find that on the Fantasy Star on YouTube and over at fantasystar.com. James Paxton over 7 strikeouts. Merrill Kelly over 6 strikeouts. Brewers, 5th highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching on the season. Over the last 2 weeks, they have the highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching at 30%. Kelly with a career best 27% K rate on the year, or near 10 K per 9. I mean, he's an absolute dynamite in the strikeout department. And then you want to go over and look at Vegas totals. Odds to get a win tonight. He and Corbin Burns are actually tied, both plus 165 to record a win tonight. So, like, which is still the biggest favorites on the board. It's a coin flip for Vegas on who's going to win this game. But that bodes pretty well for Merrill Kelly here. So I like Kelly. I like Paxton a lot. We went down to the mid tier. We kind of were intrigued by Andrew Heaney-ish a little bit because
I'm not at all.
I think I'm a little intrigued then about Andrew Heaney with the strikeouts. I know that the White Sox lineup is healthier. Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert, those guys are certainly in spots to do damage here. But for a smaller slate, mid-tier dart throw play, I'm kind of okay giving Heaney a look because Texas is going to probably win this game if they just outscore the White Sox. And Heaney gets you 6 strikeouts over 5 while giving up 3. Maybe he gets you 17 points with a win. So that's kind of where I'm at with Heaney tonight. I think that the Texas is going to win this game. I think Heaney may be able to pitch long enough in this one to not get totally blown out. And at his price point, I could see him paying off the price tag.
I mean, he's been awful in June. And I know it's a small sample, but 5.40 ERA, he's allowed a 300 average, a 393 WOBA. And the one thing we definitively say every time the White Sox are on the slate, and usually it's a right-handed pitcher that they're facing, it's like, okay, they don't have any lefties to throw at these righties. Well, when they face a lefty, they have all the righties to throw, even though they've decided, you know what, let's lead off Andrew Benintendi tonight because that's a good idea. They have a decent OPS. They're about league average. But Luis Robert has elite numbers against left-handed pitching. Eloy Jimenez has pretty good numbers against left-handed pitching. Andrew Vaughn has historically been really good against left-handed pitching, 330 WOBA last year over a pretty sizable sample. Jake Berger, we've talked about extensively against left-handed pitching, 388 ISO, 402 WOBA. So I'm just like, looking at Heaney and like all these struggles he's had during June, and the strikeout rate's still there, but the walks are a big problem.
Yeah.
And he's been slightly unlucky, but a 516 xFIP this month hasn't really suggested that he's been pitching better than expected. 34% fly ball rate. Obviously,
Yeah,
we
the
know
walks
that.
are definitely hurting him, his
Yes.
peripheral numbers for sure. 100%.
46% hard hit rate this month as well. Like, there's not a lot that's going well for him. Now, the White Sox are obviously a bad team overall, but they do have some thump in the middle of this lineup. Even Yasmani Grandal, pretty decent numbers against lefties. So I think both of the mid-tier pitchers that I like and you like, we're both going to oppose, because
Okay.
my other option, and I really don't think you need to go down here. I think staying in the Lopez, Paxton, Kelly, if you wanted to go to Scherzer range, works. But it's Brandon Williamson for me. And look, he has not been great. I understand that he wasn't great at AAA. The Rockies arguably have been worse against left-handed pitching. They're dead last in OPS. They're dead last in WOBA. They have a big-time strikeout rate, 26.2%. One of their better hitters against lefties was Tovar. He is out of the lineup tonight, which is interesting to say because he's not great. But like, you look at their numbers, like I mean, they're hitting a Jorge Alfaro fifth. They
Did you see what
have.
Alfaro was doing at AAA this year, man? The
I
guy
mean,
was hammered in the baseball.
I understand, but like we've said, I mean, conversely, pitcher on this slate, James Paxton, what was he doing at AAA or at
No, I
least on his
know.
rehab start? Like, I agree that like there is a obviously like that doesn't mean like one doesn't correlate to another, or it
I
could.
agree.
It could
Yeah.
just carry over into success, but like it's not a scary lineup against lefties. I know, like, historically, some of these guys have hit lefties well this year, and maybe over a bigger sample, they will. But 26% strikeout rate, 30th in OPS, 30th in WOBA, no power again, 137. That's 26th in the league, and that's their best number against left-handed pitching this year. Williamson has faced them this year, 5 2/3, 6 strikeouts, 1 run in Coors Field during his debut.
Mhm.
Not a big strikeout guy, but he has two games with 6 strikeouts against two teams that suck against lefties, Milwaukee and Colorado. So
Right.
if I were to dart throw, and again, I'm really not. I'm not. I'm really just living in this 9K and above range because I think you can. There's a lot of value, especially if you're playing Cincinnati, who seems to be the chalk tonight. Um, you don't need to go down here, but I could get to Williamson if I'm
Okay.
wondering.
No, listen, we talked about on the show last night. Obviously, there's a great matchup here for going up against Colorado. And you pointed out, like, he pitched well against them in Coors. Colorado at home this year hasn't even been that good in general, right? Like in Coors Field. But this is also just another ballpark where
It is.
offenses do put up runs, right? So I guess that would be like my lone, like maybe, but
Yeah.
but again, even then at home this year, the Rockies just in general only 15th in ISO, right? Like when have you ever seen a Rockies team not lead the league in like all offensive
Right.
categories when they're at home? This is the year, right? 720 OPS is 23rd in baseball at home this year. Now they're on the road, but Great American Small Park, but $5,500 is a pretty good price tag. Again, for me, I'm just thinking that Texas wins this game tonight. And Heaney, I mean, he's been bad, but I mean, if he gets a win against Tampa at 16 points, if he can pitch any more, I mean, the 1 run, 3 runs, 3 runs, it's just the walks killing the pitch count here. I think there's some potential to give him a look. But like you also said, I really haven't built many lineups that don't have Kelly and Paxton in them anyway. So needing to go much further down hasn't really appealed to me at all.
Right.
Any interest in Waka tonight? He's a guy that we've generally looked at on slates.
I mean, look, he's in an incredible stretch, and he is obviously a viable pivot. I think nobody's playing him again. Nobody played him last slate. Nobody's going to play him again this slate, despite how good he's been. The one thing we continuously have said, right, is the Giants bang, dude. Like against right-handed pitching, they've banged all year, and they haven't slowed down. They're incredibly healthy outside of Mitch Haniger, and then you know what? They just subbed in top prospect Luis Matos, and the wheels just keep churning in the San Francisco machine. So like, it's a good ballpark. It's a low total. I think the San Diego offense is kind of sneaky here going up against like the two names. I mean, Walker's a really good opener, but Wynn was just called up. How he wasn't great at AAA. So like, um, I could get to Waka. I feel like to be viable in this spot, kind of like you mentioned with Heaney, he needs a win, which
Yep.
isn't. I mean, he's won 5 of his last 7 starts. Like 7 of his wins, 5 of his 7 wins have come in 7 starts. So definitely viable. But I think it's if you're playing multiple lineups, if you're in the 20 max, 20-30% exposure to Waka at
Sure.
most.
Yeah, Padres minus 115 tonight on the money line. The Giants are minus 105. Or where is it? Heaney, the Rangers are minus 135 on the money line here tonight. But if we're looking at odds to get a win out of these games here for Williamson's minus 300, Gombers, Williamson is plus 215 to get a W. Heaney's plus 185, Waka's plus 155 to get the wins there tonight. So again, it's not a great mid-tier. We're kind of just living around Kelly and Paxton because there is enough value on this slate, and we'll dump into that right now. Is the Cincy game getting rained out? Shot like Harden is asking. Recent weather reports that we've seen, again, we kind of go over, look at Kevin Roth, the guy over at Roto Grinders, does great weather reporting out there. His most recent tweet as of an hour ago, everything is upstream of Cincinnati. It looks pretty light. He says he'll give another update closer to first pitch, but he's lowering the risk levels. So it's good news for that game being played. It obviously looked a lot worse earlier on in the weather report here. But again, as the case is with weather games, gotta stick up to roster lock, be around, and get the latest weather updates there to see if that game is or isn't going to get rained out or not. But obviously, if we get any updates before the show's closed today, we'll be sure to update you. And we'll be in the Discord again. Those who have an All-Pro membership have access to our premium Discord. James and I are in there. If we hit weather news, we'll certainly update the Discord there as well, leading into roster lock for everybody to find out. So,
John, reportedly, manager David Bell had a press conference today and said he's been told that the game is very promising to play.
Yeah. Again, an hour ago, Ralph tweeted that the rain is kind of moving north of the stadium. So seems like it should be good. But we'll see. Obviously, who knows with baseball, with weather could pop up, and next you know it's raining over the stadium for hours here. So we'll see what happens there. Going into offense here, Beasley's got a question. He's got a 4-man Cincy stack, but he's got a Cubs mini stack, and he's leaving Ellie out. Is it worth to leave Ellie out? Generally, when I make a stack, I do not like to not include what is perceived to be the best hitter on the team. Now, Ellie's young. He's been outperformed by guys like Spencer Steer and Jonathan India more consistently, but nobody has a higher ceiling in that lineup than Ellie De La Cruz. So you probably want to get him in your stack. I would in this spot. James, what do you think?
Yeah, so he flashed a lot more power from the right side of the dish this year at AAA. And I know we have the one lefty home run that almost left the yard that plays in our mind, but he had a 632 slug at AAA this year with 10 home runs against left-handed pitching. So I like Ellie quite a bit. I mean, I understand like being
he's not cheap
contrarian.
anymore. He's
not cheap, and you could play McLean for 500 less, who has arguably been as good, just like not as much upside.
Yeah.
You know, I called him Matt McPlane today to Adam Ronis' home run call because he just hits a lot of singles. But like if you wanted to pivot off Elliott to McLean, that's fine. We just know like the amount of upside this dude has is outrageous.
Yep, I agree with you there. So let's get into our positional breakdown here. We recorded the show last night, and then basically once we were done, Henry Davis getting announced that he's being called up. The 2021 number 1 overall pick. He is $2,000. He is on the Pittsburgh Pirates. He hits right-handed. He's got a lefty in Smiley on the mound here. Apps was raking at Double-A. Had a very brief stop and at Triple-A, and it's getting called up. So Pirates just going youth movement, offensive upgrade over the plate, even if he isn't hitting right away, because Hedges was doing nothing for them. So he's going to be an easy plug for a lot of lineups. Do we have an official lineup yet for Pittsburgh?
Let's see if anything has come out in the recent. Yes, he is hitting 7th and playing right field.
Okay, right. Because he is going to carry catcher eligibility, but he's not necessarily always playing catcher. So
your boy Austin Hedges is catching tonight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? They were talking about how Hedges has not been a good offensive catcher at all this year. So yeah, get him in your lineup at catcher here tonight at 2K. We talked about how it's pretty easy to get Paxton, Kelly, Corbin, all those guys in there. It's because you're spending down a catcher at 2K, righty versus lefty matchup here. If you're not going there for whatever reason, generally we just always recommend to play 2K starter. Where are you going on tonight's slate, James?
Jonah Heim or Mitch Garver, I think, are both perfectly fine. Heim has homered in back-to-back games. We know his pedigree against lefties. Now, Banks is it's a little tricky because he is the opener, but he's thrown multiple innings and multiple outings this year. He has multiple outings of 3 innings. So could we see 3 innings of Banks? Maybe. That guaranteeing an at bat against him is obviously ideal for Heim. I don't think we'd get 2. That would mean we have a big Texas crooked number early.
Yeah.
So I can get to Heim, who hits lefties and righties well. He hits lefties better. Garver the same. Tyler Stevenson's fine. I don't love him hitting 8th today. He should get moved down because he's been struggling overall. I like Grandal. He's hit lefties well this year. He's actually just kind of been steadily decent. Hits in 3 of 4, including a couple multi-hit games lately. Yanier Diaz, I talked about on the pod, and I'm going right back to the well. They're hitting him 5th tonight. And when we opened the show with the Scherzer segment and talking about Max Scherzer against righties, this dude is no joke against right-handed pitching. 276 ISO, leads the team. 366 WOBA, second on the team. Hitting 5th, catcher first base eligible. I don't want to play him at first because I think there's elite value there, and just it's a great position. But getting a catcher with that much thump, with that much upside, it's like the Ellie, not to the obviously the extent of Ellie, but there doesn't feel like a lot of upside at the position like Yanier Diaz, just given the power and given the power that Scherzer's allowed. So I like Diaz quite a bit, but if you're not playing any of those guys, you just be foolish not to play a 2K Henry Davis, who
against lefties at the minor leagues this year, 633 ISO, slugging.
I mean, dude, it's
633 slugging rather against left-handed pitching. So
yeah,
immense numbers there for him at the minor league level against Southpaws. Again, number 1 overall pick. Yep. Right, guy has
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah,
2 years ago.
Fast tracked to the major leagues. Has power. Also had 9 stolen bases. So
he has a 40 speed. I was talking to Matt Sells about that today. Matt brought it up that he had 9 stolen bases, and he's like, well, he also has a 40 speed, speed. So I'm not sure how much he's going to run at the major league level. Sure. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, you never know.
I guess. Yeah, Freddie Freeman has 40 stolen bases this year already, right?
What are we talking about here? 2 pickoff moves and bigger bags, man.
Right.
Everybody's a stolen base threat these days.
That's true.
So that's a catch a spot here. Again, there's obviously, as James broke down for you, if you're building stacks, go for it. I mean, we see this all the time. What do you think? And we have the roster numbers up, but what's the Henry Davis? What do you expect Henry Davis to be tonight? Because we've been high.
Yeah, every time.
Ellie, on Volpe, on Tatis. We're there's no way 50% of the field isn't plugging in this 2K stud, right? And then they don't. He's 20%, 18%, and we're overweight. Anything on Henry Davis, Michael Rojas popping in here. We literally just talked about him just for the last 10 minutes. We're all in.
Yeah,
$2,000
starting tonight. Want to hear the ownership?
Yeah.
Take a guess. Take a stab.
10%.
8.
8. I mean, listen, I'm gonna have him in all 3 of my lineups tonight. So
Yeah.
you know, Micro Millions over on DraftKings. I don't know if you saw that. They got rid of my $4.20 max for the
$3. It's a $3
It's a
tonight, isn't it?
$3 now, and they boosted the prize pool, but they also added like 10,000 more people that can play it. So unfortunate for
I just
John.
spit out my water.
Yeah,
Looking at you
unfortunate.
saying 10,000
Big
more
L, big
people.
L for John now.
Your
But that's
eyes
fine.
rolled to the back of your head when you
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever it is, I'm still playing in it.
As you rep the DraftKings,
They sent me a free
shirt.
T-shirt. I'm not going to not wear it. So yeah, listen, we're in on Henry Davis, stud prospect, number 1 overall pick 2 years ago. Hits for a ton of power against left-handed pitching. You know, we're in. We're buying in a 2K. Hard to beat the min price starting catcher option there. So moving on over to first base. You mentioned there's a lot of value, but to start off the show, BC asked, worth taking a shot on Votto here tonight. Hitting 6 at $4,200. Would you take a shot on Joey Votto here against Austin Gomber?
Look, let's just get it out of the way. Austin Gomber is bad, right? That's what we need to know first. Yes, he had a decent start against Boston in Fenway, but I think we talked about it last night in the pod. Like, the Red Sox lineup isn't that potent against lefties. They have a lot of lefties in their lineup, and they have Rob Refsnyder. Yeah. And Justin Turner. Those are like
Manny Ramirez is not walking through that door.
Right. You know? Manny Ramirez is not walking through that door. So this is a different lineup. Like, Cincinnati is a deep lineup. And Austin Gomber has been trash against left-handed bats. 333 WOBA, or 333 ISO, 447 WOBA allowed. But Joey Votto was bad last year. He was injured to start the year, and he came into this start horrible at AAA. Does that translate? No. But now it's like year and a half sample of just being old. I'm not going to say bad because he's just 39 years old. Like, eventually you run your course. But he's hitting 6th. He's cheap. Gomber stinks against lefties. Is he my favorite first baseman on the Reds? No, because Spencer Steer is hitting right in front of him. And that's the first baseman I do prefer if I were to go either of those directions. Like, look, Joey Votto is $4,200. You could just get Spencer Steer for $300 more. Yeah. Like, with elite numbers against left-handed pitching this year. So, like, sure, elite you could
numbers
play.
against left-handed pitching. Really good numbers, obviously at home as well. Right. 293 average on the year at home, so much better hitting environment for him there.
Right. Like, I just would rather play Steer than Votto. If you want to be a little different, play Votto. Let's look at the ownership discrepancy between the two real quick. Yeah. Like, there's a gap. Like, there's a 7% gap. So if you want to play Votto, who is going to be lesser owned, sure. But I just prefer Spencer Steer in this one.
Yep, I'm with you there. If you're going Reds, I'd rather Steer over Votto for me as well. But if we're looking at value on tonight's slate at first base, I keyed in on a Connor Joe on the show this morning. Yep. He is $3,300 and hitting 3rd tonight. Another guy on Pittsburgh that just hammers out left-handed pitching here today. So for me, I was just plugging in some Pirates here at first base.
Yeah, I think the Pirates are interesting. Like, Drew Smyly has actually been pretty good against righties, which is really weird because he's obviously a lefty. Righties just have a 141 ISO and a 259 WOBA. Neither of those numbers are at all good. They have a low fly ball rate against them. But Connor Joe has been elite against righty pitcher or lefty pitchers. 300 ISO, 441 WOBA. Doesn't have a high strikeout rate, has a high walk rate. Yep. Averages a lot of fantasy points per game against lefties, so everything profile is good except the fact that the pitcher on the other side doesn't allow a lot of numbers to righties. So sure. It's a tough spot. I'm perfectly fine getting to Pirates. I think Connor Joe is a really good price tag here, and I think, you know, you can play him in the outfield too if you wanted to pair him with Santana, who's hitting 4th in the same lineup, and Rodolfo. Like, it's a pretty good Pirates. Pirates provide a lot of value today.
I agree. Usually they do as well, right?
Right.
Usually they're pretty cheap on slates. Kevin Newman's another Cincinnati first base eligible player.
Yeah.
It's going to lead off first and third base eligible for him tonight. If you wanted to go there, what other value were you taking a peek at first base tonight?
I like Andrew Vaughn, 3K, and he's hitting 2nd for the White Sox tonight. And although he's been, a little subpar against lefties this year. It's been a little bit of a disappointment. Andrew Vaughn, throughout the first few years of his career, has been really good against lefties. 453 slug, 814 OPS, 173 ISO, 354 WOBA. So, I'm willing to bet on that larger sample for Andrew Vaughn than the small sample he has against lefties this year. And we've talked about it a couple times with Heaney and why you and I were kind of on different sides of this Heaney fence here.
Sure.
He does allow a lot of power, 200 ISO to righties. He does allow a sizable WOBA, 339 to righties. He is a fly ball pitcher by nature, at least to right-handed bats, 31%. A lot of hard hit rate. I'm getting to the White Sox tonight, and I think Vaughn hitting second provides really good value for your White Sox stacks.
Okay. Anybody else at first?
No, it's funny you mentioned Newman. I would actually rank Joey Votto as the third best Reds first baseman.
I mean, Newman's got stupid numbers for whatever reason against lefties too. But yeah, he's another one that just singles. No real.
Yeah. If I had a single pun for Kevin Newman, I would. Mark, work on that, please.
Yeah. Second base positioning here tonight. Where are we queuing in on? This is again the top tier guys: Simeon, Estrada, Horn for 5K, Altuve, Marte, McLean, India, in that upper 4-6 range kind of fills out your top 6 second baseman on the board.
Yeah, so I would start with Altuve. I'm pretty much avoiding those top 3 names, going to Altuve, 48. He's hit righties really well. Scherzer, I've talked about it all show, has struggled against right-handed hitters. And you know what? Altuve's been relatively good since returning. The speed, I think, has been the best thing to see. We just saw power and speed on full display in one single game last time out. But I like both Reds here. Matt McLean, second base, shortstop eligible. Little speed, a little power, a lot of gap, a ton of balls in the gap, dude. 8 doubles and 4 triples already for McLean in 31 games. So I like him. Jonathan India really coming around, especially in the power department for Jonathan India. 3 home runs in his last 4 games, 5 in his last 7 overall, or 4 in his last 7, excuse me. So I really like those 3 guys at the top: Altuve, McLean, India for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think obviously, we've seen India start to come around. Guy won the Rookie of the Year a couple years ago, really down year last year, but already double-digit home runs, and stolen bases. So on pace for a career year. We dumped down into the value. Rodolfo Castro's another guy with just ridiculous numbers against lefties. You talked to Smiley sort of limiting the numbers there. I put Castro out as my home run call today. He was plus 500 on DraftKings Sportsbook. So I'm liking him hitting 6th tonight. Was there any other value at second baseman that popped off for you, though? We like Paxton, so I don't see us going to, Julian or Farmer here today. Anything else for you tonight?
Nope. I would limit myself to Rodolfo.
Okay. I agree with you. There was a time last year where Elvis Andrus was the best player in baseball, but
you and I loved that time.
Long gone.
That was the best time of the year for us last year.
It was ridiculous for that month for no reason at all. Home runs, stolen bases, didn't make any sense.
None.
But he was fantastic. All right, over on the third base, and since we're at third base, Mark, I guess talking about shortstop, is Duran not third base anymore? Is he shortstop in outfield?
No, he's just short. Yeah.
All right, then Mark, we'll put you back on the freezer for a bit here, and we'll talk about that in a second. He used to be third base eligible. Top third base: Devers, Ellie, Machado, Bregman, McCann, Jung. Where are we keying on?
So you can definitely play Devers if you want. The power has definitely been there for Devers, more so lately than ever. But Ellie De La Cruz, obviously 5,200, hitting from the split that he hits for more power from. You can definitely get there. I like the Bregman idea. He's slumping a little bit, but 3 for 5 yesterday, coming off a good game. Josh Jung gets a lefty, hitting third tonight. And again, he's probably only getting 1 at bat against Banks, but if it's Schulten's coming in afterwards, he hasn't been great either, so I'm okay going to Jung. Nick Senzel has good numbers against lefties. But honestly, John, I'm just going to say it, we're just going back to the Jake Burger well here. This guy, like, again, he's gonna hit 35 home runs and nobody cares. 30 home runs minimum. 388 ISO against left-handed pitching. Now, he is going to strike out. He's not going to walk all that much. But if Jake Burger gets a 91-mile-an-hour fastball from Andreini, because not like Andreini's a burner, he's going to put it out in one of the best ballparks for hitting on the year. So I like this matchup quite a bit for Jake Burger. He is one of, if not my favorite per dollar third baseman of the
day. Okay. I'm fine with that. Again, I like Heaney even more. I mean, you mentioned all those numbers against Heaney. If you just want to just cherry pick things and make him look good, his road numbers this year: 5 starts, 2.48 ERA. So
he has been good on the road. I did see that 5+5, like he has a 5+ ERA at home, and he's been good on the road. This is not a good ballpark to pitch in. Like guaranteed rate is like a top 5 hitters park this year, so that's a little concerning.
Sure. Yeah. So he's 35. Moving on down. Was there anybody else that we like down here? Not really, huh?
You can play the Remillier dude who's 29 years old and had 3 hits in his debut and then went 0 for the next day, but he's hitting 9th. Don't love that. You can also play Kevin Newman here if you really wanted to. Kevin Newman only a shortstop on FanDuel, so you don't have that luxury over there, but I don't think there's much. It's like spend up or go to Burger Newman.
Mark wants to know Jung and McBurger here today.
Probably depending on your stack. If you're playing a one-off, I'm probably going Jake Burger against Andreini. I feel like Burger has higher upside for a home run tonight.
Interesting. Well, we can also find those numbers out as well. We can see who has the higher home run odds.
That is true. That is true.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, most nights I feel like Texas is the better lineup.
Correct.
But it all depends on your opinion. We're on opposite sides. I kind of like Heaney tonight, so like I am lukewarm, but you can always hedge, I guess, against Heaney if you want to. But both have ridiculous power here.
Yes.
On the slate, so like for sure, could figure it out. I'm gonna pull up the home run props here, see what we got for Burger and Jung here quickly. Where's text? There we go. Same game. Let's see. Jake Burger's plus 310, Josh Jung plus 475. So Vegas is leaning towards James plus 310 on the home run for Jake Burger here this evening.
I mean, I feel like that's like a meteorologist in Florida telling you that it's going to rain. Like there's like a 40% chance it's going to rain here today, sure, and 60% chance it's going to be sunny for 23 hours and 75. Like
right.
You're just going to be correct all the time because it rains, but it's also sunny at all times. Like Jake Burger home runs, or he's 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. So.
Burger plus 310, Adolis plus 320, the top 2 home run pops on that game. So if you're looking to go there. Shortstop. Now we can talk about Ezekiel Duran when we get down there.
Yep.
Corey Seager's ridiculous. He is $6,000, but
he is ridiculous.
Not going to sit here and argue with you. If you want to not play him, that's on you.
That's your fault.
It's your fault. Yep.
It's
100% your fault. If you're not going Corey Seager, you did the playbook today. Who's your top shortstops?
Well, Corey Seager. Yep. Yeah. You can play Ellie here. That's fine. You could play McClain here. That's also fine. I also kind of gravitated towards Ezekiel Duran, truthfully. Rodolfo, you could play here. Like a bunch of guys that are just multi-position eligible that we talked about, I'm just using at shortstop as well. And Ezekiel Duran will likely face Banks hitting 7th. He's crushed lefties. He's also just been good against everybody. Like he's been good against righties too. He's been good against lefties. Like when a righty comes in, because obviously Tanner Banks is not going to pitch this whole game, Ezekiel Duran has a 186 ISO, 348 WOBA. Like really good numbers. It's the same with Corey Seager. He hits lefties and righties well. So honestly, it's the Texas guys for me. It's McClain, it's Ellie, it's a bunch of guys that we've already talked about pretty much across the board.
Any interest in Perdomo leading off tonight?
Burns has been worse against the righty power, at least expected righty power. It's been, it's bad for lefties against Corbin Burns this year. Like bad. 058 ISO, 218 WOBA. Like, and I know obviously like you can play Corbin
It's
Carroll
funny
and
you
like
see those numbers there, and then like still know that Perdomo, a switch hitter, will still bat left-handed against him, right? Like
yes, correct. And like
instead of batting right-handed, the
right.
better split, he'll still bat the
Right,
worst.
right. Yeah, it's like they have like if I have these numbers, the managers have these numbers. Like it's
All right, let's go to outfield then. We'll finish off these positions here. Top outfielders for the day for you.
So I'm not getting to much over 5K. Like I think you could play either San Diego guy. I think San Diego is a little sneaky. They're not getting a lot of ownership. Obviously they have a very high ceiling when everyone's clicking, and we know Fernando Tatis is clicking like every night, either homering or stealing a base. Soto's going to face a bunch of righties tonight. That's ideal. My first and favorite outfielder that I'm getting to is Christopher Morel, who I wish wasn't hitting seventh because he's hitting everything out again
Yeah.
and he's not striking out, which is tremendous. And I think that continues here. And I actually think the Cubs are, I added the Cubs as one of my top stacks in the playbook today. Most of the exposure I want from the Cubs comes to the outfield, and that's why we haven't really talked about much Cubs yet. They have like 5 outfielders you can use today. But Christopher Morel hits righties only. He has 10 of his 13 home runs against righties this year. He has a 400 ISO against righties. And Beto is not a guy who strikes people out. Wasn't a big strikeout arm at AAA. Was okay in his first start against the Cubs. Like he did strike people out, but 91 pitches, didn't even get through 5 innings. And we know the Cubs have struggled in that department lately. But if Christian Morel is humming like this, and him and Bellinger hit 6-7, like it's just making this lineup like deeper than it's been really all year long. I really, really, really like Christopher Morel tonight. I think our good friend Pete Cole made him his home run call tonight over on my, and if I wasn't going Spencer Steer, Christopher Morel would be the 1B to Spencer Steer's 1A.
Okay, yeah, I like Morel a lot here as well tonight for the upside. Frustrating that Chicago continues to like just close their eyes and throw a dart, and wherever the dart lands, they just put him in the lineup.
Annoying. Yeah, it's annoying.
Can't figure out where to hit the guy. But definitely good home run play at $4,800. Obviously, you're in on the White Sox guys here. Roberts 46. Eloy is 44. It's $4,000 this evening. We've talked about Senzel in the mid tier there as well. Going down below 4K. Who's the ones that are sticking out for you tonight?
Below 4K. Let's see. Obviously, Connor Joe 33. Ezekiel Duran 3,000, but like, how do you ignore Leody Taveras at 3,100?
Dude,
like,
I didn't. I've played.
You did not. You did not. No, you.
I just keep playing him.
I know he's been incredible. No, he. And
they don't move his price tag.
Nope.
And he's been unbelievable.
Nope. They don't. And I mean, we're in the midst of a Leody Taveras home run barrage. 5 home runs in his last 10 games. Where this is a guy that everyone was in on a couple years ago for like their stolen base darling, and like we're starting to see a little bit of that come through. 8 home runs and 7 stolen bases in 57 games, hitting at the bottom of this lineup. I mean, it's really hard not to like Leody Taveras. He hits lefties, he hits righties, he hits both sides very well. And then Chas McCormick 3K. This is his better split, and I know he has been like good just in general this year. Chas McCormick has been like surprisingly good. But 205 ISO, 343 WOBA against right-handed pitching. As BZ, we still like McCormick against Max. Yeah, we do. As I read out his numbers, 205 ISO, 343 WOBA against righties. And like I said earlier, BZ, like Scherzer has definitely had his problems with righties. And the Astros are running 8 tonight. They are 8 righties deep. And McCormick is one of their best players against righties. Third highest ISO, third highest WOBA in the lineup. So, yeah, I really like McCormick 3K.
Yeah, I like that as well. Our guy Jeremy over here saying he's got the Morel over. I think that's probably the hits, runs, RBI. It's question mark.
Yeah.
Because that's all I see over there for Morel. He's got the over Lewis Robert fantasy score, which they use the FanDuel scoring over there. Fantasy score for Roberts here tonight over on PrizePicks. I might as well just type his name out and scrolling for it. 7 fantasy points. So that's slow. That feels low for Lewis Robert. Even though I am kind of a Heaney Heaney guy here tonight. They got Heaney for 16 pitching outs, so they got him for what's that?
5 1/3.
5
Yeah,
and a
5
third, and
1/3.
a 5.5 strikeout total. So all they're giving us here for Heaney props here tonight. So that is pretty low. So they got Eloy. They have Eloy props. Eloy 6.5. So kind of low fantasy projections for the White Sox bats here over on PrizePicks. That's not always an indicator of anything. The last time we did a look at it, though, was Chris Bassett when he was, 29 and a half
29 and a
against
half,
Baltimore,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
that he got lit. So sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. That's the whole part of it. My PrizePicks plays out on fantasyalarm.com and the Fantasy Alarm YouTube. Go check those out there. Paxton and Merrill Kelly props available for all of you for free to go check those out tonight if you're not already there. All right, so those are our 3K range. We talked about Duran, Leotis, Connor Joe's down here, Chas McCormick. What else are we keying in on under this 3K range? Anybody pop off for you?
Yeah, I like Mike Tauchman leading off for the Cubs. I mentioned I do have interest in the Cubs tonight, and Tauchman's been pretty good. 2,500. He homered and stole a base yesterday. We've now had hits in like 7 of his last 8 games, with 3 of them coming multi-hit in the multi-hit variety. He does have some speed. He's been pretty good for the Cubs this year. So I like Tauchman leading off 25. Stuart Fairchild hitting 9th against Austin Gomber. Now, this is one of those like situations that if you've played the Giants this year, you know what happens when they versus specific splits. They just get like pinch hit for, and Stuart Fairchild is definitely a pinch hit for candidate, especially with Fraley and Friedel out of the lineup tonight. Like if Fairchild doesn't get it done in the first couple at bats, he is out of this lineup immediately. So like you definitely have to keep that in mind. But I think Fairchild,
he could just get pulled if they ever put a righty in too, because they have both Fraley and Friedel not starting tonight. So.
Right, and I will say he's homered in 2 of his last 4 games. There is power specifically against lefties, so those are like the only really sub 3K plays. Like I know Clint Frazier exists in the world, but like he's been still bad and
good free strikeouts for Heaney tonight. Let's do it.
Yeah, 3 strikeouts. Hey, we could both be right there.
Listen, we've both been right before.
That was the Paxton Reds. It was the Paxton versus Reds.
Start. I stacked the Reds. You played Paxton. Paxton pitched a gem, and the Reds beat up on the Red Sox bullpen. And we all went home winners that night.
Yep. I think Steer hit the home run off Paxton, and that was like the only runs he gave up.
That was my home run call. Yeah.
You were live. Weren't you on site? You were on site rooting for home run. You were in a Red Sox jersey covering the Sox because you were rooting for the Reds there.
Yeah. All right, give me your Grande's Gems picks of the day here.
All right, home run call is going to be Spencer Steer. I know I took that from you on the pod, but sorry, not sorry. Stealing from you here again. Top stack of the night is going to be the Cincinnati Reds. Been touting them pretty hard. I'm going to go with the White Sox in my contrarian stack. Also been touting them pretty hard. My star of the night. No. Star of the night? Yeah, star of the night. I'm going to go Jonathan India. I think Jonathan India is going to continue his hot streak here. And value play of the night. Give me Andrew Vaughn of the Chicago White Sox.
Andrew Vaughn for your value play.
You know what?
Oh.
Jake Burger.
Who you switching to?
Jake Burger.
The Burger Man coming through for your value play. Okay, I don't mind that. My home run call I did on your tweet earlier today. I have Rodolfo Castro at plus 550 as my home run call. My top stack, I'm going to go with the Rangers here. Big fan of what the Rangers are going to do tonight. And I actually think they're going to be rather contrarian here tonight as well. So I think you can get to that pretty easily this evening. My contrarian stack, even though I think Texas is going to be contrarian, I also think that you can go with Houston here. If people are going to be in on Max Scherzer tonight, going against Max Scherzer is certainly a way to be different on this big slate. So getting some Houston Astros in your lineup tonight will be contrarian. Value play, again, I got Rodolfo as my home run call, so we'll roll him out as my value play. My star of the night will be Corey Seager. As I said, don't play him at your own peril. The man is an absolute monster here. So that's where I am going for today. James, got a couple minutes left. Let's go ahead and get a lineup for the people.
Yeah, I mean, Kelly, Paxton, Henry Davis is how I pretty
That's
much
exactly where we're going. Probably should have done Henry Davis as our value play, but we're gonna roll that way.
Well, I mean, we've talked about him a lot. Like
4150. Your home run call was whom? Steer, right?
Spencer Steer, yeah. We can
Steer,
use him at either first or outfield. It does not matter to me.
Adolfo at second.
Yep. That's what I have as well.
All right. 4240, third short outfield to go.
Well, you want to play Seager, so we're gonna go there. I think if we're gonna play Seager, we could pair him with kind of a wraparound-ish play with Leote,
Yep.
Tavares,
Yep.
3100 in the outfield.
In.
Berger at third, unless we're spending up. If you have someone like you would rather play.
I mean, I was gonna see about getting Ellie in there for Steer for you,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I don't know if we can get there though.
I really want
50. We can.
I really wanted to play Chris Morel. I think it comes down to like Morel versus Ellie.
Morel's fine. Morel, Berger.
We could if we wanted to play more Reds, which is not a bad approach. Instead of Berger at third, we could play Kevin Newman. Or we could play Kevin Newman at third. I don't know what your thoughts are there, but
no, I think this is good. I think what we got is good. We have $3,800 for an outfielder.
Okay.
What are your feelings here? Do you like Seiya? If you want to go someone next to for Cubs, we got Connor Joe at 33.
Do a 3-man Pirates stack here.
Could go 3-man Pirates. Could again $3,800, kind of a iffy spot for go Profar as a one-off against Williamson.
We could
go down to Ezekiel just at 3K. We don't need to spend all the money we have on the board, so
we do not. I think Duran or Connor Joe or Chaz would probably be between the three guys that in this tier would be like the three I'd pick.
I like the Rangers stack here, so let's go Duran. He'll kind of hook up with Leotes here and not necessarily connect with Seager, but that's what we got going on for everybody here. We got Merrill Kelly, James Paxton, Henry Davis, Spencer Steer, Rodolfo Castro, Jake Berger, Seager, Leotes, Morel, and Duran as an example lineup for everybody. Again, James and I will be in the Discord if you have any questions. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, see the scroll down at the bottom. The draft guide is live. You can go ahead and get the draft guide now. It comes free with an all-pro subscription where you can save 50% off that right now. We're promo code MLB50 or NFL50, however you want. Comes with a 7-day free trial as well. But if you want just the draft guide, you can get that today as well. $26.99. Go to fantasy.com/draft guide to get all of that good stuff there. James and I will be back in the morning with a preview of Tuesday's Monster Slate. We'll be back live at 5 o'clock Eastern with all the updates.